Hey everyone, ready to really level up a super important life skill?
Oh, yeah.
Communication. We're going to be doing a deep dive on an episode from the English Joe's podcast all about it.
Nice.
Was so excited to dig into this one because it's like something we all use constantly but don't often think about strategically.
It really is like breathing right. Like
Yeah.
we kind of just do it automatically.
Right.
But there are so many ways to do it better.
Exactly. So one of the things that really stood out to me right away from this episode was this stat they gave. Only 7% of communication is actually based on the words we use.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
That's a big one. That one always makes people stop and think.
It really does.
It really shows, yeah, how important those nonverbal cues are.
Yeah.
Tone of voice,
Yeah.
body language, facial expressions, all that.
Huge.
I mean, think about it. Like, you could say, I'm fine in a million different ways.
Bubbles.
And it could mean totally different things each time.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I could already see how this could lead to some serious misunderstandings if you're not careful. It makes that active listening thing they talk about even more important.
Right.
You can't just hear the words.
Exactly.
You have to be paying attention to those little subtle cues, too.
And active listening is about way more than just avoiding those awkward misunderstandings.
Yeah.
It actually makes your communication stronger overall.
Interesting.
Like when you really listen, you're not along, ask clarifying questions.
Mhm.
It builds rapport and trust.
Totally. It's like you're saying to the other person, hey, I'm here and I care about what you're saying.
Exactly. It shows respect and makes them feel heard, which
Yeah.
is honestly like the best foundation for any conversation.
It makes sense. The podcast also had some really good advice about being clear and concise when you speak,
Oh, yeah.
which I for sure need to work on.
Uh-huh.
I'm so guilty of using all the ums and likes.
Oh, yeah.
But they gave a really good example about pitching a new project idea, and it made me realize how much more powerful and clear a message can be when you cut out all that extra stuff.
It's so true. And it's not just about saving time either. Yeah.
Think about it from the other person's perspective.
Okay.
If you're rambling and unsure, it can
Mhm.
make what you're saying seem less credible.
That's true.
Being clear helps build confidence in both the speaker and the message.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so speaking of making an impact, they also had a whole section on vocabulary.
Oh, fun.
I love learning new words. It's like adding tools to your communication toolbox, right?
It is. And it's not about trying to sound smart or anything.
Yeah.
It's about choosing the right words to really paint a picture for your listener,
Yeah.
make your message more persuasive, or even connect with them on an emotional level.
You know, I actually just recently learned this new word, mellifluous.
Alyssa Lewis.
It means sweet or musical sounding.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, and I used it in a conversation the other day, and it honestly sparked this whole discussion.
Ooh.
It was like that one word just added this whole other dimension to what I was saying.
That is such a perfect example of how expanding your vocabulary can make communication way more engaging.
It's true. More memorable. So instead of saying something is interesting,
Right?
try using words like captivating, intriguing,
Oh.
or thought-provoking
Love it.
to really express the specific feeling.
It's like a game, trying to find the perfect, most impactful word for every situation.
Exactly. And that keeps communication fresh and exciting.
Yeah.
Both for you and whoever you're talking to.
Totally.
Yeah.
So moving on to another really important element of good communication.
Okay.
Asking open-ended questions.
Ooh, yes.
They had this really good example in the podcast about asking, what did you think of the movie?
Okay.
Instead of, did you like it?
Yeah.
It seems like such a small change, but...
Huge difference.
Right. Huge.
And there's actually a psychological reason for that.
Oh, really?
When you ask an open-ended question, you're inviting the other person to share their thoughts and feelings more,
Interesting.
to elaborate and go deeper.
Yeah.
It shows you're truly interested in what they have to say.
Which, again, kind of brings us back to that active listening piece
Yeah.
and building connection.
It all comes full circle.
It really does. It's all starting to click now.
It's like weaving a tapestry, right?
Ooh.
All these different threads, active listening, clarity, vocabulary, open-ended questions.
Yeah.
It all comes together to create this rich, meaningful communication experience.
That's a beautiful way to put it. Okay, so we've covered a lot already.
We have.
What other communication gems did this episode dig up?
So this is where it gets really interesting.
Oh.
They talked a lot about how important it is to adapt your communication style based on who you're talking to.
Oh, totally.
Like, you wouldn't talk to your boss the same way you talk to your best friend. Right?
Oh, absolutely not. I actually learned that the hard way once.
Oh no, what
I was
happened?
talking to a client and accidentally used way too much slang.
Oh
It
no.
was so awkward.
I've been there.
Yeah.
But honestly, those real-life experiences are the best way to learn.
Yeah.
They show us just how important it is to be flexible and adapt.
Yeah.
When you tailor your communication style, it shows respect for the other person, and it makes it way more likely that your message will actually connect with them.
It's like speaking their language, right?
Exactly. Not just the words, but the tone, the whole approach.
Yeah, totally. Have you ever noticed how different people have totally different communication styles?
All the time. It's fascinating.
Like some people are super direct and others are more subtle.
It's true.
Some people are all about stories and others are all about data.
It's so true. And being able to recognize those different styles is like a communication superpower.
How so?
Well, for example, if you're talking to someone who's super direct, you can probably just get straight to the point.
Okay.
But if someone is more thoughtful and takes their time,
Yeah,
you might need to give them space to process before responding.
that's a really good point. I can see how understanding those little things could help me connect with people better,
Absolutely. And it can prevent a lot of misunderstandings and frustration.
for sure. So what was the last big takeaway from the English Dose episode?
Practice, practice, practice.
Of course.
They had some fun ideas like recording yourself, speaking, joining conversation groups, or even just reading out loud.
Yeah, I love that. It takes the pressure off.
Exactly.
And even small, consistent effort can make a big difference over time, right?
Huge difference. Remember, it's all about progress, not perfection.
So true.
Mm.
All right, so to recap, we talked about active listening, being clear and concise, using powerful vocabulary, asking open-ended questions,
We did.
adapting to our audience, and of course, practicing.
We covered it all. So what's the main message here for our listeners? What do we want them to remember?
Well, I want them to know that effective communication is like a superpower anyone can develop.
I love that.
It's not just about being fancy or eloquent.
Yeah.
It's about connecting with others in a real, authentic way,
Yeah.
building strong relationships,
Mm-hmm.
and just navigating all those tricky human interactions with more grace and skill.
That is so well said. I think that's a perfect place to wrap things up. But before we go, I want to leave our listeners with a little something to think about.
Okay, let's hear it. So think about your own communication style for a sec.
Okay.
What's one area you'd like to improve?
Ooh, good question.
Maybe you want to be a better listener or try using more descriptive language.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, pick one thing and try to make a conscious effort to work on it this week.
I love that challenge. And remember, even those tiny changes can make a big difference.
Totally, they can have a ripple effect.
Exactly. Becoming a better communicator is a journey, not a destination.
It really is.
So be patient with yourself, have fun,
Yeah.
and celebrate every step you take.
You know what I love about this deep dive?
What's that?
It's given me this whole new way of thinking about communication.
In what way?
It's not just about the words.
Right.
It's about the intention behind them,
Yeah.
the way we listen, and all those little cues we send and receive without even realizing it.
It's like unlocking a secret code
It is.
to understand human connection.
And the more we learn about that code, the stronger and more meaningful those connections will be.
So true. Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, everyone. That's it for this deep dive on effective communication. But we want to hear from you.
Yes.
What communication challenges do you face? What are your go-to tips for connecting with others?
Yeah. Share your thoughts.
Let's keep this conversation going.
Until next time, happy communicating.